Hi all. Thank you for calling me for Luna 2020 program. I thank Dr. Prashant R, Principal, KUCT Aryad, Alappuzha, and also my student Anuradhika, who is studying in B.Ed in the same institute, for inviting me for the program. I am delighted to see that in this pandemic situation, we have found the quest to celebrate human moon landing. That is the arrival of spacecraft carrying a human on the surface of moon. And I appreciate the apt name for the webinar, Luna 2020. As we are all aware, Luna is a Latin word, or it is an Italian word actually, with a Latin origin, and it means moon. I hope there are many moon lovers in this program. So without further delay, let me start my keynote address. In this topic, I would like to touch upon what is the significance of moon program in this COVID time, when we are still struggling to cope up with our daily lives. Is it necessary to spend thousands of crores of rupees for space program to moon and Mars? What is the benefit of making a man land on moon? Or till now there is no evidence of any aliens waiting there to make friendship with us. And even if there are aliens, why should they be interested in making friendship with us? We are right now messed up with ourselves. Then how to even accommodate one more species in our lives? So these are some topics which I want to answer. And some people are so against NASA mission, saying that Apollo mission is a hoax. They doubt whether the technology was capable at that time. At that time, when Apollo program occurred, the Soviet Union had 5 times more manned hours in space than United States. And they have put the first man-made satellite in the orbit, that is October 1957, Sputnik 1. They were the first to put the first living creature to enter the orbit, that is a female dog named Laika, November 1957, Sputnik 2. The first to safely return living creature from orbit. There is 2 dogs, Belka and Strelka, 40 mice and 2 rats. This achievement was made by Russia in August 1960, Sputnik 5. The first man in space, Yuri Gagarin, also from Russia, and he achieved this feat in 1961 April, Vostok 1. The first to have 2 spacecraft in orbit, again Russia, that is in August 1962, Vostok 3 and Vostok 4. And you very well remember the first woman in space, Valentina Tereskova, June 1963, Vostok 6. As a part of the dual spacecraft flight included with Vostok 5. And also the first crew of more than 3 cosmonauts on board, 3 astronauts on board, was actually on October 1964, Vostok 1. And also the first spacewalk was done by Russia again in March 1965. So you see the irony, isn't it? All the achievements were made by Russia, and in one sudden morning, American lands on moon. Whenever I give invited lecture on space, a lot of criticism and doubt comes in this way. And it is a very hard job to convince the general public that space research is not like a tour program. It needs a lot of homework and dedication to achieve those feats. So I am focusing on why space research is the need of the hour. Yes, dear friends, I use the words very carefully. I said space research is the need of the hour. And India needs to step up so that they could reach a point to stand head on with allied countries like USA, Russia, Europe, China, and Japan. The agenda of today's talk is to share with this august audience of upcoming teachers who are going to be leading the light for the next generation, who have been selected from a group of people to dedicate their lives to a noble cause called teaching. So let me share some slides with you. This picture is what we are celebrating today, the happiness and joy when Apollo 11, the space flight that landed humans on the moon, carrying Commander Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins and Edwin Aldrin. They landed on moon on July 20, 1969 at 2017 UTC. UTC means Coordinated Universal Time. Armstrong had to wait 6 hours, 39 minutes to land on moon, that is on July 21st, 2:56 UTC. And Aldrin joined very later, that is 19 minutes after Neil Armstrong landed on moon. And they spent about 2 hours and 2.25 hours actually on the surface of moon, while Michael Collins, the third person, was flying the command module Columbia along the lunar orbit. Why detailing these things? Just because this was not a visit to Kodaikanal or Ooty. It is the first visit to moon. And dear friends, even in our times when going to Kodaikanal or Ooty or Mysore was so joyful. So I am talking about going to moon. The only moon, and that too, none had gone there before. So can you imagine the joy, the happiness, and of course the effort to go through these severe conditions to reach there? It was not a smooth ride like what we have done in an air-conditioned bus. So we admire and so we celebrate, hoping that one day we can reach there when India carries out a similar program. The American space mission did not prop up in a single day. Even though the fuel for the program was a political rat race with Russia, there was a series of programs which paved the path for the success of Apollo 11. Starting from Project Mercury, the first human space flight program of US, I should remind you that the Soviet Union, now Russia, were miles ahead of US in the space race. But the systematic success of Project Mercury in conducting almost 20 unproved development flights, along with 6 successful flights by astronauts, testing all possible scenarios, from high altitude stratospheric interventions to physical and psychological effects. created the platform for Apollo program. I have to say a famous quote here. Stone is broken by the last stroke of the hammer. That doesn't mean that the first stroke is useless. Success is result of continuous and persistent effort. During the testing times of Mercury 7, a group of 7 astronauts selected to fly the spacecraft for Project Mercury. Around 470 plus persons were chosen by NASA. NASA means the National Aeronautic and Space Administration for real flight testing. Those chosen people were put through all unimaginable situations, simulations, created to cope up with Moon's atmosphere. We often sing our song like Vennila Chandanakinnam, but the real physical situation is very hostile. Hence, NASA had to ensure the peak of physical fitness for astronauts to ensure their safe journey back to our only home, Earth. So these final 7 persons, Scott Carpenter, Gordon Cooper, John Glenn, Gus Grimson, Valerie Sharia, Alan Shepard, and Deke Slayton, are considered as national heroes who made the impossible feat achievable through Apollo team. And in this contest, a little science to share. We are talking about the numerous scientific accomplishments that had to be made to reach Moon and come back. In this COVID times, seminars are now webinars, thanks to the 4G communication system, whereby we are connected like never before. Even though virus has made few new rules like social distancing, these space programs were the first of the kind where we were communicating with people standing in space. I still remember my father saying that in 1969, July 21, he too heard the voice of Neil Armstrong through the bulky vacuum tube radio. And those words were like, "That is one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." Those words is still zooming in his ears. You all should imagine what they would have felt. And they say that it is a beautiful feeling. Looking into the sky, you see the moon, and there 3 of our kind speaking to us. We can hear through the radio wave communication delayed by, of course, few seconds. But the voices are so alive that we feel them in moon. We see from Earth. What would have been their feeling? They could have seen Earth as a blue marble, or I should say blue marble. From there, as we see our moon, they could have seen our Earth. You can write a lot about these feelings too. But I feel that a person who does science has left all these lucrative jobs of earning money for the sheer pleasure of discovery and experiencing the physical reality. If you are an artist, the artists too are like that. So I appreciate all artists and scientists who have created such a platform for me to share this wonderful feeling created in mind. Coming back, let us talk about some luminaries in space mission of NASA. First, I will have to talk about John Glenn. John Glenn is the first American to orbit Earth, circling it 3 times in 1962. Dear friends, I hope you know that the first person to orbit Earth was of course Russian, and his name is Yuri Gagarin. He achieved this feat on April 12, 1961. Then why I am not talking about Yuri Gagarin, I am talking about John Glenn. Again, you may doubt that Sir may be a fan of Trump. No, dear friends, I want to point out the fact that Apollo's mission success had been backed up with many other programs in precise order, that we should recollect them in these days. Let me tell you why. If today India wants to make a human crewed mission, then will America or Russia or China or European Space Agency or even Japan, will they help you? By now you are quite sure that China will never help you. If you want to come up, you have to do it alone. Chandrayaan missions and Mangalyaan missions are just starters. You can debate about the success and failure of these things in 8 PM news channels every day. But I say that there are the initial strides made by us, that is Indians, alone to achieve this feat. And why are we not capable to do it now? Because our technology needs lots of improvements, so that we could stand in our feet to make our own ideas, opinions clear to all nations in the world. So when celebrating Luna 2020, I want to share about all the ventures from Mercury. Mercury is the predecessor of Apollo, then Gemini, to Apollo 11. Apollo 11 is the final moon landing mission of NASA, where the crews Eugene Cernan, Harrison Schmitt, and Ronald Evans had the most prolonged stay at moon. They covered few kilometers in rover, examined the rocks in geological perspective, to the very words said, like I should share the Cernan's words, I am on the surface of moon. I take man's last step from the surface back home. He is the last person to do that. And for some time to come, I believe that we are going to come back in future. I did like just to say what I believe history will record, that America's challenge of today has forged man's destiny of tomorrow. As we leave moon, we leave as we came. Yes, that is a very nice word. We leave as we came. And God willing, as we shall return with peace and hope for all humanity. Godspeed, the crew of Apollo 17. I know you may not have heard these words as often as the words spoken by Neil Armstrong. Why? Because NASA had to shelve all the man-made manned programs to move, because it proved to be very costly. It is not that America can't afford to do it, but the people of America become disinterested in pursuing the program further. It is like saying, when a tour is planned now, if some of your friends say, let's go to Ooty, then there is a feeling of disgust right now, isn't it? Because people have already traveled to Ooty many times and there is no further pleasure in it. So it is impossible to get a general consensus of all the students for a single place. So if you plan a tour with students now, oh, I forgot about Corona, Probably now all the students may be willing to go out to any place other than their home. Anyway, I had to make the point that American people lost the interest in moon mission because people start to visit there frequently. And this politically demotivated the funding to NASA. But at this juncture, I have to add that that was a backward step. The scientific accomplishments which have been made till then had to go for a backward step. The general public is often like that. So there is a need for teachers like you to interfere with the general public to make them aware of the science behind the travel and how this will benefit humanity as a whole. It makes it clear like this. Let me share you like this. 4G is now moving to 5 or 6G networks soon. Do you think that only Ambani will be benefited from this advancement? You see, science don't work like that. If science and technology improve, then humanity itself is lifted to the next generation. Let us hear what John F. Kennedy says about this. We choose to go to moon in this decade and do the other things not because they are easy, but because they are hard, because that the goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skill, because that the challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win. When NASA space program was only 4 years old, John F. Kennedy was speaking about putting a man on moon. These words are so magical that it opened a significant era of space program. Right now we have leaders. We have Team ISRO. We need advanced space programs. And we need a new breed of young astronauts. Either you become one or make one of your students capable of doing the same. When Chandrayaan 2's Vikram and Prayagan rover failed to launch, I could see the hue and cry as well as many troll videos in Facebook, WhatsApp, etc. published every day against ISRO's space program. In this context, I like to say, a small step of a man in moon needs a giant leap of support from us. I mean, not USA, from us Indians. We are talking about a flight mission with pinpoint accuracy, with a gentle land and return of a space vehicle, docking and launching protocols at very high orbiting speeds. Engineering skills need to be high quality. Extra vehicle activity training should be given. Safety designs, zero gravity drills, re-entry to ocean, surviving the pressure, water survival practice, and in case if you don't land on moon's land, what will be the survival tactics you will approach? And you are traveling with 2 other persons. You cannot just fight with those persons. You have to make friendship with them. So how your co-pilot should be your real friend? These all things have to be taken care of. And dear friends, we don't have any godfathers to help to do so. I am happy that we don't have it, because that helps us learn from our mistakes and take the next step carefully with the limited resources. Gemini program by NASA had 10 flights in 1965 to 66 to achieve the success in Apollo 11. We are doing this in a single attempt. We Indians are trying to do it in single attempts. So it is time to pledge our loyalty and support for the future missions of our nation and ISRO in this webinar. I hope I have conveyed my idea of hope in this COVID times. As Carl Sagan says, we have stayed long enough on the shores of cosmic ocean. We are ready to set sail for stars. Earth is our only home, but our survival of humanity depends on how well we find ways to travel through space and find new alternatives. COVID have already taught us enough lessons to take care of our little blue marvel, our Earth, isn't it? People often complain about psychological problems affecting them in these COVID times. Do find some time reading the training that astronauts go through, physical as well as mental. But their determination and hope helped Americans to achieve it. It is our time. I know the tides are high. There is a cyclone like virus. But a good surfer is tested only when the nastiest wave hits him on face. We have a challenging and whoever comes out is the winner. Above all, the history of humanity will remember them in golden letters. I would like to end with the words of Vikram Sarabhai. There is some who questions the relevance of space activity in a developing nation. To us, there is no ambiguity of purpose. We don't have the fantasy of competing with the economically advanced nations in the exploration of moon or planets or manned space flight. But we are convinced that if we are to play a meaningful role nationally and in the community of nations, we must be second to none in the application of advanced technologies to the real problem of man and society. Thank you all once again for patiently listening. If any questions, please feel free to ask or else email to my mail ID sibi@keralauniversity.ac.in. Feel free to contact in case of any help in your scientific pursuit. Once again, thank you.